They grabbed me by my hair and started slamming me up against the wall. It's a painful and traumatic experience.
Hip-hop has produced some of the most influential art in the history of American music. It has given voice to the voiceless, told stories that Hollywood would never touch, and launched cultural movements that reshaped the world. But it has also carried within it, for decades, a very specific and very troubling silence. A silence around what some of the biggest names in this industry did behind closed doors to women who loved them, women who in many cases said nothing for years, not because nothing happened, but because the system around them made speaking up more dangerous than staying quiet. Today we are breaking that silence. These are the documented, court-confirmed, publicly acknowledged cases of rappers who abused their partners. This is not gossip. Everything in this video comes from court records, sworn depositions, criminal convictions, out-of-court settlements, and the artist's own public statements. These women told their stories. The least we can do is listen. Dr. Dre, you cannot have an honest conversation about domestic violence and hip-hop without starting here, because no one on this list is bigger, no career is more celebrated, and no contrast between public image and private conduct is more jarring than the story of Andre Romel Young, better known to the world as Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre was the perfect father figure, role model, mentor, and producer for me at the time because I was young, I was raw, but I needed direction and I needed some sculpting. And he was able to shape me and mold me and teach me the right way of how to do it. And he had the right team around me. And I've always respected the fact that he was willing to teach me when I was not who I am today. You know, people see the Snoop Dogg that's polished up and shined up, but they didn't see the one that was a rock, that he seen the diamond in me.
Dre is worth over $500 million. He produced NWA, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, and dozens of other defining voices in modern music. He co-founded Beats Electronics and sold it to Apple for $3 billion. He performed at the Super Bowl halftime show. His name is synonymous with the highest level of hip-hop achievement. He is by almost any metric one of the most important figures the genre has ever produced. He also beat multiple women. That is not a rumor. That is a matter of legal and public record. The first confirmed case came in January 1991 at a Los Angeles rap industry party. Dee Barnes was a journalist and the host of the popular hip-hop TV show, Pump It Up. She had recently conducted an interview with Ice Cube, who at that time was publicly feuding with NWA following his departure from the group. Dre interpreted the interview as disrespectful to him personally, so he decided to handle it with his fists. According to Barnes' own account, published later in Rolling Stone and in a personal essay for Gawker, Dre grabbed her by the hair, slammed her face and the right side of her body repeatedly against a wall near a stairway, then tried to throw her down the stairs, then kicked her in the ribs and stomped on her fingers while his bodyguard held the crowd back so no one could intervene.
You just grabbed me.
Grabbed you how?
I'm sorry, kid. I mean, it's no secret. They grabbed me by my hair and started slamming me up against the wall. It's a painful and traumatic experience.
She pressed criminal charges and filed a $22 million lawsuit. Dre pleaded no contest. He paid roughly $2,000 in fines, served community service, and returned to his career without missing a step. His NWA bandmates, Ren and Eazy-E, publicly responded to the assault with the words, "She deserved it," and "Bitch had it coming." In a 1991 Rolling Stone interview, Dre himself said, "People talk all this shit, but you know, somebody fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with them. I just did it, you know? Ain't nothing you can do now by talking about it. Besides, it ain't no big thing. I just threw her through a door." That was the public response from one of the most powerful men in hip-hop to beating a woman at a party in front of witnesses. And Dee Barnes was not the only one. Singer Michelle, who at the time was Dre's girlfriend and the mother of his child, has spoken extensively about years of physical abuse during their relationship. She described leaving encounters with black eyes, a cracked rib, and visible scarring. She eventually had reconstructive surgery on her nose to repair damage she said he caused. She referred to herself in one interview as just a quiet girlfriend who got beat on and told to sit down and shut up.
One night he came in, I guess he went out with stock and yelling, and came in drunk and just took off. I have no idea, but that was the first time. And woke up the next morning and I kid you not, didn't have a conversation about it at all. He gave me some money to go to the grocery store to buy some sunglasses. That's it.
Her experience was depicted in the Lifetime film Surviving Compton, a biopic that was noticeably absent from the massive theatrical release of Straight Outta Compton in 2015. When the Compton film omitted the abuse entirely, Both Barnes and Michello came forward publicly to object. Dre eventually addressed it. In 2015, he told the New York Times, 25 years ago, I was a young man drinking too much and in over my head with no real structure in my life. However, none of this is an excuse for what I did. He later addressed the Barnes assault directly on HBO's The Defiant Ones documentary in 2017, saying, any man who puts his hands on a female is a fucking idiot. He's out of his fucking mind. And I was out of my fucking mind at the time. I fucked up. I paid for it. I'm sorry for it. I apologize for it. I have this dark cloud that follows me. It's a major blemish on who I am as a man. That apology, delivered more than 2 decades after the assaults, named neither D. Barnes nor Michello directly. Meanwhile, D. Barnes was blacklisted from the entertainment industry after the attack. She struggled for years. At one point, she was reported to be homeless. The career of the woman who was beaten in front of a room full of witnesses was destroyed. The career of the man who beat her produced one of the greatest runs in music industry history. That is the industry's complicity, written in plain numbers. Fabulous. If Dr. Dre's case is the founding chapter of this story in hip-hop, the case of Fabulous and Emily Bustamante is the one that hit the generation that grew up watching it play out on social media in real time. And it is one of the most disturbing domestic violence cases the industry has ever had to confront directly.
He's a rapper. There's women, there's this, there's that, but he'll never leave me.
Fabulous. Born John David Jackson in Brooklyn, built his career as one of New York's smoothest, most polished rappers. Songs like Make Me Better, You Be Killing Them, and Can't Let You Go made him a constant presence in clubs and on radio for over 2 decades. He and Emily Bustamante, widely known as Emily B, had been together for over a decade. She appeared on Love and Hip Hop. They had 2 sons together. By every public appearance, they looked like a couple that was as complicated but committed. On March 7, 2018, Fabulous was in Los Angeles on a business trip. He discovered through Instagram that Emily was also in the city without telling him. Court documents describe him becoming enraged. He sent her text messages, threatening to hit her in the head with a baseball bat. He told her he would kill her, but that he did not want to go out like that. When he returned home to their New Jersey house and found her father and brother there, Emily had called them to remove the 2 firearms from the home because she feared for her life. Fabulous allegedly grabbed Emily and punched her in the face 7 times. Emily Bustamante, the mother of his children, lost her 2 front teeth from the force of those blows. The court documents are specific: 7 punches, 2 teeth knocked out. Video obtained by TMZ showed Fabulous in the driveway of their home several weeks later, being physically restrained by his own bodyguard while he lunged at Emily and her father, screaming threats and brandishing a pair of scissors. The children's voices could be heard in the background. A New Jersey grand jury indicted him on 4 felony charges: 1 count of domestic violence with significant bodily injury, 2 counts of threatening to kill, and 1 count of possession of a weapon. He eventually took a plea deal, entering a pretrial intervention program. The charges would be dismissed after 12 months if he stayed out of trouble. He was not required to take anger management classes or attend therapy. He did not serve a single day in jail. Emily B stayed with him. She even appeared in court to support him. She asked for the restraining order to be dismissed. And like so many victims of long-term abuse, her reason for staying were her own and deserved no judgment. What does deserve? Scrutiny is a system that responded to a man knocking a woman's teeth out with a program and a thumbs up and an industry that kept booking him. XXXTentacion. Now we reach the case that forced the hardest and most public reckoning in modern hip-hop because it involves an artist who died young and left behind a fan base loyal enough to turn his accusers into targets. The story of José Onfroy, XXXTentacion, and Geneva Ayala is one of the most extensively documented domestic abuse cases in the history of the music industry, and the evidence ultimately came from Onfroy himself. Onfroy grew up in South Florida in circumstances shaped by poverty and instability, and built his early career on a sound that blended hip-hop with elements of emo and punk rock, creating something genuinely new that connected with millions of young listeners who felt unseen by the mainstream. His single Look at Me blew up in 2017. His debut album, 17, debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. He was the fastest rising artist in the game. He was also, at the time, facing criminal charges that could have sent him to prison for 30 years. Geneva Ayala met Onfroy at a concert in 2016. They began dating quickly. 2 weeks after she moved into his apartment, according to a sworn 142-page court deposition she gave to the Miami-Dade County State Attorney's Office, he slapped her and smashed her phone because she complimented a male friend's jewelry. From there, the abuse escalated in ways that are genuinely difficult to read, but that a court required her to document in detail. She described being beaten, choked, nearly drowned in a bathtub, threatened with objects, and told repeatedly and daily that he would kill her. The charges he faced included aggravated battery of a pregnant woman, domestic battery by strangulation, false imprisonment, and witness tampering. When Ayala found out she was pregnant in October 2016, a pregnancy that had been planned by both of them, Onfroy allegedly became violent because he had discovered she had sex with someone else while he was incarcerated on unrelated charges. She testified that he told her, "You need to tell me the truth right now, or I'll kill you in this jit," using slang for the unborn child.
Geneva fucked my homeboy. She's using you guys for money. She's still fucking my homeboy. I'm in jail. She tried to bribe me for $3,000 and tried to bribe my mother and my family and my peoples for $3,000. We gave her $5,000 on GoFundMe. If you want to go check it, my homeboy Lil Chill shit sent that shit to her motherfucking GoFundMe. Stop believing the motherfucking rumors. I did not beat that bitch. She got jumped. Bye. And by the way, for all you dumb fuck-ass niggas that thought this stupid bitch was pregnant, I got the paperwork signifying that she wasn't pregnant. So when I get out, I'm fucking all y'all.
The beating she received that day damaged the vision in one eye. She later started a GoFundMe to pay for surgery to repair the nerve damage and the bone fracture near her eye. Onfroy's fans found the page and flooded it with harassment instead. She was forced to quit a job at Dunkin' Donuts because fans would show up and take photos of her and try to follow her home. Onfroy publicly denied everything. He pleaded not guilty. On Instagram, he responded to the allegations by threatening sexual violence against anyone who called him an abuser.
This is a story, this is a full story, and this is the last time I will tell it. She was already bruised on her face. All while she was staying with me, she was already bruised on her face. Now with the severe bruising, I don't know how the fucking severe bruising came about, but she had like bruises on the left side of her face when she was at Bruno's. I think she got jumped. That's what I told everybody, like, yo, she got jumped. Cause the way she was fucked up, I think she got jumped. They're not gonna admit to it. I don't give a fuck. That's not my part of the story. That bitch got whooped bad. So I didn't beat her, nor do I give a fuck about who beat her at this time, because now I know she's an evil bitch. There's a story.
Then the recording surfaced. Sometime around his October 2016 arrest, an acquaintance secretly recorded a 27-minute conversation involving Onfroy and several associates. Pitchfork obtained the recording from the Miami-Dade County State Attorney's Office. Both the prosecution and the defense considered it a confession. On the tape, the person identified as Onfroy says, "I put my source of happiness in another person," which was a mistake initially, right? But she fell through on every occasion until now, until I started fucking her up. I started fucking her up because she made one mistake. And from there, the whole cycle went down. Now she's scared. He then says, "I will kill that bitch if she plays with me." Jahseh Onfroy was shot and killed in June 2018 during an armed robbery outside a motorcycle dealership in Florida. He was 20 years old. The charges against him were automatically dismissed upon his death. His estate sold millions of records in the weeks following his murder. The conversation about his legacy, whether to mourn him, whether to stream his music, how to hold both his death and Geneva Ayala's injuries in mind at the same time, divided the internet for months. What was never seriously disputed after the tape was what he had done. Geneva Ayala is still dealing with her injuries. Her name is mentioned far less often than his.
I got to Jahseh. I get to talk about him whenever the I want to. Did y'all know him? No, y'all did not. Y'all knew what the he portrayed online. I knew who he was, bitch. So don't ever come up to me talking about some, oh, why are you talking about Jahseh? Why are you talking about Jahseh? Oh, he's dead. Why are you talking about him? Suck my. That was my nigga at one point, and I fucking love him. So you could suck a.
3 cases, 3 sets of women, 3 careers that continued, 2 of them without meaningful interruption, in the years after the abuse became public knowledge. And those are only 3. Fabulous and Emily B, Dr. Dre and D Barnes and Michelle, XXXTentacion and Geneva Ayala. The list of documented, legally processed cases of domestic abuse in hip-hop extends far beyond what this video can hold. NBA Youngboy was filmed slamming a woman in a hotel hallway in Georgia. The footage aired everywhere. he kept releasing music. Bow Wow was charged with assault and battery in 2019 after an altercation with his then girlfriend. Lil Uzi Vert pleaded no contest in 2022 to felony assault with a firearm involving his ex-girlfriend and received 3 years of probation. The cases accumulate. The industry absorbs them. The fans mostly move on. Why? Part of the answer is the same as it has always been in every industry that produces stars powerful enough to transcend accountability. The money is too large and the loyalty is too deep for consequences to land the way they would on anyone else. When a man generates millions of streams per day, the label does not rush to cut him loose over a police affidavit. When a producer is responsible for $3 billion in business, the apology comes eventually, but the career survives. The machinery of the music industry runs on the same logic as every other institution that has protected powerful men at the expense of the women they hurt. The asset is too valuable to lose. Part of the answer is also specific to hip-hop's cultural relationship with toughness, a genre built on authentic experience, on surviving environments that would crush most people, on projecting an image of power and control. That genre has sometimes struggled to make space for the vulnerability required to genuinely reckon with how men in its ecosystem treat women. When Dee Barnes was beaten in 1991, her attackers' bandmates called it deserved. When Geneva Ayala filed her deposition, Onfroy's fans made her life more dangerous rather than safer. The culture, at its worst moments, has turned accusers into targets and abusers into martyrs. But something is shifting. It is shifting slowly and imperfectly. When the Straight Outta Compton film tried to sanitize Dr. Dre's history, both Dee Barnes and Michelle stepped forward and refused to let it happen. When XXXTentacion's estate began monetizing his death while Geneva Ayala was still raising money for eye surgery, enough people said something publicly that it became impossible to ignore. When the video of Fabulous in that driveway surfaced, children screaming in the background, a man being restrained by his own bodyguard from attacking the mother of those children, the cultural silence cracked open, even if the legal system offered very little in the way of consequence. The women in these stories are not footnotes. Dee Barnes was a working journalist who had built something real before it was taken from her. Michelle was a singer whose talent was present in the music she made alongside the man who was hurting her. Emily Bustamante was raising children and building a life. Geneva Ayala was 20 years old. They are not supporting characters in the story of the men who hurt them. They are the ones who carried the weight of what happened in their bodies, in their careers, and in some cases, in their literal eyesight, long after the news cycle moved on. Hip-hop has always been at its most powerful when it told the truth about things the rest of the world preferred to ignore. That same obligation applies here. These stories are part of the culture's history, whether the culture wants to claim them or not. The question is not whether they happen. It is whether, knowing they happen, we choose to remember the women as clearly as we remember the music.